Hello, everyone, and welcome to BFM 3130. This is Entrepreneurship and FinTech, and this is the first semester this unit is offered, and it is part of the core unit for the FinTech major. Now, the way I planned this introduction is to go through some issues related how we are going to run the next 12 weeks. I will be your lecture and also your tutor. And we will talk also about the whole purpose of this unit, which may be new for most of you. And then we will talk about the assessment structure, which is an important issue for most of us. Okay, let me just go to the this is actually what we are going to do. Financial technology, when we talk about it, within the context of startups, which we are going to do in this unit, is talking about the financial product that we are trying to provide through this, the startup. And then we want to know the technologies that will be used, the business models that will be incorporated in this startup, and also the financial services that will be provided through this startup. Now, most of the ideas could be new for most of you. Also, you have taken BFW 2120, which is the introduction to FinTech, but this is a little bit different. We use that knowledge, but we brought it to the next level. Now, as you can see, this innovation technologies is everywhere, and it's spreading all over the world, especially in this area of the world, which is Asia, and specifically in countries like Singapore, China. Malaysia is also catching up on this, but it's the trend. Now, this is actually bringing so many innovations. And when we are talking about innovations, one of the most important things FinTech was providing when it starts with the financial services was the financial inclusion, which I think you are aware of that. Now, when we talk about financial inclusion, we are talking about socioeconomic type of startups, but startups actually can do pure business for profit. Now, emerging markets actually provide massive challenges and in the same times opportunities to FinTech entrepreneurs. As I told you, Asia also faces a high level of poverty. I'm not talking about Malaysia specifically, but most of the countries in Asia have this poverty issues. And when we are talking about any socioeconomic type of startups, FinTech startups, we are talking about issues that will deal with financial inclusion, trying to deal with poverty and other issues. But as I told you, also this is very intimidating. It also provides a unique business opportunities for aspiring entrepreneurs ready to take on the biggest challenge of their lifetime in emerging economies like Malaysia and Singapore, which we are living in this area. Now, we are talking about, when we talk about this unit, we are preparing you to be entrepreneurial. And when we talk about entrepreneurship, we are talking about innovation and entrepreneurship. Now, these two terms actually overlapping. And we want to answer the first or the basic three questions. Are those entrepreneurs will be really entrepreneurs when they have startup, when they own startup or be partner of those startups, or they can be just entrepreneurs even if they don't own or if they work for a big startup. And this entrepreneurship, which is actually related to innovation, is it born with the person or is it made? Which means, can you acquire it through your education and training and interaction and networking, or is it just given to those people who have those talents? Now, this second question is we want to answer it. It's a myth. Of course, everybody can be an entrepreneur, can be innovative if we have the right training and the right exposure. Now, we want also to pick up, can you pick up skills and learn to be an entrepreneur? The question is yes. But when we go to answer those questions, actually, we are going to see to what extent we can learn how to be innovators. And specifically, we are talking about startups and how can we be entrepreneurs at the end and have what we call a fintech startup, which is actually a type of innovation and entrepreneurship project. Now, we'll be answering, as I told you, all those questions. The way we will run this unit is we will have many industry speakers. We also bringing some people from schools, from our school, who are expert in cybersecurity, who are expert in entrepreneurship, and we will just give them as a guest speaker in most in the first week and the 8th week, and also we have guest speakers to help us understand more about this fintech startups. We will also try to partnership with some of the incubators, and also incubators means those people who are helping fintech startups to do their projects and helping them to sort out their plans while they are in the growth area. We will also host some of those startup partners, and we will see how can they help us, especially when we talk about the week 11 and week 12. So we will need to deal also with industry to large extent and bring guest speakers to expose us to more of those issues. Now, let me go to the learning objectives. Now, the learning objectives actually, we want to evaluate the risks of this partnerships, entrepreneurships, which means those fintech startups. It's very difficult to start a fintech startup. It's easy when we talk about it in theory, but the risks involved can be huge risks. In other words, you can have regulatory risks. You can develop and use resources to develop startups, and then there is no market, or there is no user, or you screw up in collecting the information, or the technologies, or the cybersecurity. So many things are involved, and there is actually so much risks when we do those startups. And this is why not so many startups are actually successful. But if you go it in a systematic way and follow the right business models and take care of the regulations of the right funding, then in this case, you can grow and you can start and you can grow, and later on, you can have joint ventures or even go for IPOs. Now, we want also to critically analyze the performance and operation of fintech. We will expose ourselves to the regulatory environment in Malaysia, in Asia, and we will see whether we actually need some regulatory or regulation concerns when we talk about the funding, because the funding also will include some regulations and where to get this money and how to get this money, especially if you grow up. And then the most important thing actually is this one, which is we will complete it with a startup. That means this class will, at the end, will present for us a complete startup project. We will talk about it. We are not too many people in this class. We will divide ourselves to 4 groups, and we will have industry help. We will work together, and then in this case, I'm sure that we can come up with good projects based on it doesn't have to be the best project, but if you plan to do it while you are graduating from this university, this is like long life learning, and you can start your own startup, or a group of you can start their own startup if they know the right process to do a startup. Now, let me tell you what we are doing in this class. Now, in week 1, of course, we will talk about the introduction to FinTech, and this is actually week 1. And we will talk about this area. And I think this is actually, maybe entrepreneurship is new for you, but FinTech is not new for you. You know all those technologies, at least you know it theoretically from BFW 2120, which is the introduction of FinTech, which is a prerequisite for this class. But then we want to move that understanding to start to do a startup. And this is actually what we are going to do in the next 12 weeks. First of all, and the most important thing, if the user exists and the market, when we talk about the user need, that means there is a market. Now, there is a market for some type of financial services. So that financial services, instead of doing it in the traditional way, we are trying to add this finance service and finance need that is provided to the user, mix it with technology, and then in this case, come with the, if we come and we are aware to go through this process and knew what is the user need, specifically when there is no, regulatory limitations, then actually we are under a setup, a good setup or perfect setup to start what we call to start the process of building our startup or FinTech startup. Now, this is the first thing, and this is the whole idea and the whole concept of startup. If there is a market, you can merge technology with finance to come with a financial product, and that will satisfy the user need, which means there will be a market, which means that startup will have some type of profit and will be successful. But how can we reach to this point, which is our purpose? This is the whole purpose. Now, we have to do what we call a FinTech startup, and this is a full process that we are going to do it during the next 12 weeks. Now, there is 2 issues we have to understand in this issue. First of all, we need to know the funding. Now, the funding issue is some of the questions in the funding. Of course, we are not going to start a corporation. We are just going to start startup. This could be your savings or your family support, or you can arrange for that initial investment from your own resources. Then there five steps and classes of growth. Now, when you grow more, of course, you will have more funding. But do we really need money to start a fintech startup? The question is yes. But the answer also not that much when you start it. Your own resources, your savings, family support can be enough, especially for a small project. This is one issue. But when we grow up, then we have to go through what we call funding rounds, which means once you grow, you need more funding. Once you grow more, from A to B to C until you reach to maturity, until you reach to IPOs, until you bring what we call angel investors, until you go to joint ventures. There is many different and gradual steps of funding. And this is, we have to understand it. And this is actually one of the obstacles. Now, the other one is, which is one of the biggest problems, you can have a perfect user need, you can have the perfect technology, you can have the financial service that you are aware of, and you can merge it with technology and provide the financial products through this fintech startup, but regulation will tell you, no, you can not do that. And we have seen that through the cryptocurrencies. Look at China, look at Malaysia, sometimes the Bitcoin, for example, which is an important component of the blockchain technology. Sometimes they allow it, sometimes they won't allow it, especially when we talk about the payment systems and advanced payment systems. So the legal considerations are very important. And in this case, we will understand what are the regulations and this in emerging market in general, and what is the Malaysian market regulations. And also we will have to know something about the funding, the legal issues of funding, especially when you are in the final stage of your growth. Now, the legal consideration for startup, as I told you, starting up, there is a legal structure. And how do we regulate technology? This is technology is regulated by the regulators. And in this case, this is another obstacle. So we have to know the funding, we have to be aware of the funding and also of the regulations before we move, if we have the right idea. Now, when we go to the startup, now there is a process. Now, startups can start from 1 year to 2 years to up to 5 years. They keep just growing by time. Some of them are lucky, especially if there is a users and market, you can start immediately. But others, you have to go through process. But when they are mature, you can sell them, you can exit, you can do good business of it, you can bring new partners, you can go joint ventures, you can do so many things. Now, to do this, we have to understand, to expose ourselves to the issues of the fundamentals of entrepreneurship, which means there is a process of this entrepreneurship, which means how can we get the idea, how can we identify the opportunities, and what is this entrepreneurship and the innovation, as I told you, how they mix up and overlap, and how we can be developing what we call the entrepreneurship and the innovation mindset. This is very important to understand it, to understand the process there, and how does it come to the picture. Now that will lead us, this will be in week 2. Week 3, we'll talk about the opportunities in fintech, which means now there's so many fintech startups. Huge startup, like Amazon, small startup, Alibaba, all of those, as you know, startups, and you have very, very small startups, and you have small that are growing, and you have small that will not grow, and you will have something in the middle that will not grow at all, and you will have others who will just collapse and get out of the market. So identifying the opportunities, and fintech is very important. So when we talk about financial technologies, we want to understand what actually the financial services we are going to provide to the financial institutions, to the market, to the insurance company, to the regulators. So many, and we will have a lot of work of this to identify, every group will identify what is the right project, and this has to go through a process. Now, after that, assuming that we understand the fundamentals of entrepreneurship and this mindset, and we identify the opportunity, now we start with the business models. We have so many business models, but the Compass is one of the most important one. I don't know that you have been exposed to this in BFW 2120. It's a very complicated, it can be very complicated one, but it's a very good project where you can put everything in one page and start working in that to provide the business model. Business model will include also your expenses and your income. Where are you going to receive? Are you going to receive fees, or are you going to receive dues of applications? Are you going to receive some type of subscription? So many fees are coming, actually, so many type of income, and we have to understand it in this stage. But also, when we talk about building the fintech models, we have to understand the whole project, from resources, expenses, income, capacity, growth, technologies. All of those issues will be in one model where we have to deal with it. And in week 5, we have to talk about the business, building a fintech startup product. Now, when we understand that, we move to the next step, which is designing the product. Assuming now you are working and you provide some type of technology to detect fraud of what we call like when you do, when we are, this is a very important issue in banks. Now, non-performing loans that goes over 90 days, some of them actually non-performing loans, some of them is an operational risk in the bank. Now, some of the loans can, if not monitored and very well, the bank can lose due to miss to collect payments at the same time, or collect interest at the same times, or not following the documentation in the same time, in the right time, and then that will lead to huge risk for the bank. When we talk about credit scoring also, and we have talked about it in banking, if you remember, when we talk about credit scoring, which means qualifying an applicant for a loan, this credit scoring was developed through a startup where they can connect with the banks and with the applicants, and with this process, that is what we call the product. So to come back, what we are going to do in week 5 is actually the product, which is, before we talk about the technologies, we want to understand what is the product that, or the financial service that we are going to provide to the financial institutions, or to the market, or to the users. Now, after that, we have to talk about the technology part, which is Are we going to use something like blockchain? And what is blockchain? How does it work? What is the hash function? And don't worry about it, it's not very complicated. And we are not going to do deep thing on it, but you have to understand how blockchain and cryptocurrencies work when we have some type of financial product that we are going to sell or provide or offer to the users. Now, some of them also use artificial intelligence, AIs, and AIs has so many uses. So this is the technology part, which we have to take it in week 7 and week 8. Now, when we reach to this point, I think we are done with it. We just try to understand case studies from all over the world. And in week 11, we will do the financial presentation of our project. And then we will have a revision. And week 12, this is where the industry guest speakers will come. They will provide some feedback based on your presentation in week 11. And then in this case, you will incorporate all this feedback based on your presentation, based on developing your startup, and provide the write-up or the project to me by week 13. Now, let me talk. We will talk about all these issues, but I want you to conceptualize. You have to have a concept and conceptualize how this startup actually work. And it's a very, very systematic process that will lead us to build what we call startup projects. Hopefully that will be successful. This is the whole issue of this unit, maybe in this slide. Now, let me come to the last one here. And we are talking here about the assessment structure. We have 4 pieces. We have individual assessment. This is actually in week 7, and this will be individual, which means after we study all those areas, as you can see, week 2, week 3, week 4, 5, and until we reach to week 6, before we go to the technologies, identifying the project, identifying the business model and the startup concept that will need so much, because you will have to identify opportunities, you have to work on it. Then every group will have 4 people. Everybody will provide their output, and then they have to provide a report to me by week 7. But out of these 4, if the group is 4 people, out of these 4 reports, we will choose the best idea, and that will be the project for the whole group. Of course, after discussion with me, discussion with industry experts, and also with the whole group. So we'll pick the best project out of the 4, and that will proceed with it. So this is the individual one. Week 7, you just complete the write-up and the technology part and present it in week 9. Now we have group presentation, which is based on this project. See, it's only one project, but it's connected. The group presentation, actually, they will present the best project in this area. So this is in week 11. Then you have to provide to me in week 13 the group assignment. Maybe the new one for you is this one, which is a very all of this is one project, actually. The reflective essay. Reflective essay, we will ask all of you, every individual, to provide their experience, which means how the group did work, how was the progress. You have to do some type of peer review. You have to reflect in everything you studied in the unit, and you have to bring it. You will be provided with the rubrics, and you will have to provide this to me, where we can mark you for that. Of course, I need this in week 14 because you will submit here in week 13. So your whole experience about the unit, about the group, about the peers, about how the group was conducting their work through all this time. And then you have in week 14 full understanding of what you have done during the 12 weeks until week 13, actually. And then we will mark it and get it back to you. Actually, this unit is about a startup, a fintech startup. And this fintech startup is a very systematic work, and start from identifying the user and the market, going through very systematic process until we reach to a very acceptable. You will have to pitch it, of course, in week 9, in week 11, excuse me. You will pitch it here, and then hopefully some people will continue with this project or the idea of this project if they are interested to do it in the future. Some will just, if they are interested in go to fintech industry or work for a big fintech startups, then in this case they will take those live learning. It will be like a live learning issue for them. I want to thank you very much, and I don't know how long they talk, but it's a new issue and we need to understand it. Thank you, and I will see you in class on Friday. Thank you very much.